Hello all, welcome back to our course on digital accessibility. And in the previous session, we spoke about AI and accessibility and what role AI is playing in advancing accessibility and helping with creation of multimodal interactive systems which can be customized as per individual users' needs, and how AI is improving accessibility not just by providing tools to enhance experiences for for people with disabilities, but also we spoke about AI powered tools of evaluation and how AI can help with evaluation of your digital products in order to know about their compliance standards, whether they are able to meet web compliance, accessibility guidelines, etc. And kind of saving on human effort in order to reach to a better compliance. So we kind of now understand that AI has the potential to transform accessibility by offering tools that can support various challenges faced by people with cognitive disabilities, neurodivergence, and other disabilities which are more commonly known like sensory disabilities. We went through several examples of real-time language translation, real-time closed captioning, how now Windows has a dictate plugin and read aloud plugin and all of those things. So all of these technologies are based on AI based models, and they are trying to make the tools more inclusive, more accessible for persons with different kinds of limitations. And however, we have to also understand that the future of AI in accessibility is definitely promising, but there are certain risks and aspects which we also need to understand when working with AI and accessibility. So we have all learnt about accessibility compliance in this course in some of the previous week sessions. And when we talk about digital accessibility compliance, of course, we have also tried to understand how AI can help and support evaluation of digital tools so that it can help in securing compliance, right? So there can be comprehensive risk assessment, there can be regulatory reporting, not just the development organizations, but also auditors can use AI based tools in order to quickly audit the digital products. Then vendor compliance, regulatory information access. So just having, so I'm sure you might have seen the WCAG document. While it is very comprehensive, very well annotated, but it's still a long document, right? So where AI based tools can help you in accessing the document as per your need and the kind of criteria which is required. It can directly tell the designer or the developer that probably your design is not fulfilling so and so criteria number, so make sure that it is compliant, which the techniques to do it are so and so. So I'm sure these kind of tools can be built in order to ensure compliance and due diligence. However, we have to look at this compliance aspect from the other side of it as well. So the moment we integrate AI based agents in our digital experiences, they automatically fall under the purview of digital accessibility compliance rules as well, right? So any website, so for instance, any website which has a chatbot integrated in their interface has to comply with WCAG compliance guidelines, and the chatbot also falls under the purview of compliance and regulation. However, there are certain aspects to AI based toolboxes which are difficult to manage in terms of compliance. The compliance guidelines themselves have not adapted yet. So, let us talk about all of those aspects. So, because AI is changing the rules of compliance, the content which is AI based is more dynamic, it is more personalized, it is not a standard text, it is generated in real time, and sometimes it is unpredictable because it is real time generation. So, ensuring compliance becomes even more challenging and critical. Automated decision making systems shape who gets access to information, jobs or opportunities. This is a very big issue when we are talking about inclusion and AI based decision making systems, shortlisting systems. All of those are basically taking away from the human aspect of access and inclusion, and this is something which we need to talk about. So, accessibility compliance as we know it today must adapt quickly or it risks becoming irrelevant in the near future, because more and more digital experiences will be tailored around AI rather than AI being a tool or a chatbot used on a website. It will be the content itself may be generated in real time. The moment you open a URL, it is not a static text, it is a generated website which is tailored to your taste, your previous browsing history and all of those things. Then compliance regarding layout, regarding perceivability, operability, all of those things comes into question, and that is why current WCAG guidelines do not talk about AI based or dynamic content a lot, and it needs to adapt very quickly, otherwise it can get irrelevant very soon in the near future. So, let us try to discuss how will accessibility evolve in an AI driven world. So, for decades now we have been seeing that accessibility compliance have been governed and regulated by standards such as the WCAG guidelines, and then there are laws to enforce the guidelines, so such as the ADA, which is the American Disability Act, the section 508, and then India's rights of persons with disability, or the RPWD Act, which we spoke about. So these are laws that enforce the guidelines on to developing agencies and innovators, engineers and designers. So, the frameworks are grounded in a vision of the web as structured, predictable and largely static, which has drastically changed with the evolution of AI based systems and dynamic, unpredictable, personalized, real time generated content is changing the definition of internet as we know it. So, these guidelines and these acts are largely based on the pretext, assumption that the website or the app or all of those things are predictable, they are structured, the owner or the website, the creator has access to change it, right, or correct it as per the guidelines and comply with the guidelines. But the moment it is generated, you're not really owning the content in real time. You don't know if when I open the website, what I will see, if somebody else opens the website, what they will see. So we largely don't know every time. So then that becomes a very problematic situation. So that brings us to the point that accessibility compliance itself is at a turning point, and that it needs to adapt quickly. And accessibility compliance, however, has always evolved with technology shifts. So now also it can do that, and it can evolve with technology shifts. So one of the major technology shifts in terms of digital accessibility has been from web, which was landscape based layout, which was opened on a laptop or a PC, to a mobile based interface or apps, and the guidelines have evolved with the change in technology, and there can be other multimodal interfaces like VR, AR, and all of those have also now come under the purview of WCAG guidelines. So that it's not really that the guidelines have not adapted before, right? So maybe it is possible to do it for AI based interactions as well. So from static web pages to mobile apps, as we said, to dynamic single page applications, now the WCAG guidelines has to include all of them. But the rise of AI marks a deeper inflection point where both the pace of the change and the unpredictability of outputs challenge existing frameworks, as you will see. And there are certain issues, so which we will talk about. The first being that AI generated content is dynamic by nature. It is generated in real time. The semantic essence may also differ every time it is refreshed. So traditional accessibility testing assumes that content is relatively stable. Once a page is designed and coded, it can be audited against WCAG. However, use of AI and AI generated interfaces like ChatGPT powered assistants or adaptive e-learning platforms produce dynamic outputs that vary by user, context or query, right? So that raises new compliance related challenges. Say for example, how do you certify accessibility when the output changes every time? Who bears the responsibility? The businesses deploying AI or the vendors supplying the model? So basically, if I am using a ChatGPT, what does this mean? That if I am embedding a ChatGPT based agent on my website, who is responsible for an in compliance or non-compliance? Is it me, who is the owner of the website, who has created the website and embedded the ChatGPT, or ChatGPT itself, like or the owners of ChatGPT who are deploying the AI model? So that's a dilemma as well. Can the existing standards like WCAG 2.2 adequately capture these fluid interactions? So right now they are not comprehensive, they are not really talking about a lot of dynamic content, but probably in WCAG 3.0 there may be some more sections on AI based interactions. Then another issue is that the standards always lag behind innovation. So this is an unfortunate truth of all industries, not just accessibility. The standards follow while the innovation is leading the change. So WCAG is essential, but it was not written with generative models or adaptive interfaces or real-time algorithmic decision making in mind. So it is not really talking about them right now. They probably form a baseline currently, but they are not really. They are lagging far behind the innovation and the current state of the art. Guidelines cover text alternatives, contrast ratio, keyboard navigation. These are like basic operability issues, but they yet don't address some of these points, which is like caption accuracy thresholds. So whether the caption which is auto generated, is it semantically accurate, right? Biases in voice recognition for atypical speeches with say accents or lisps or stutters, all of those things. Transparency of automated decision systems, they don't address these aspects. This gaps means compliance frameworks may soon fail to cover the most impactful accessibility risks, which are most of these, right? We are talking about using AI for making lives easier, but who and what regulates it? Another issue which can come is the rise of algorithmic discrimination. So accessibility isn't only about the POUR, the perceivability and operability of the content, understandability, etc., but it is also about inclusion by definition, like including all kinds of people. Disability is one of the facets of inclusion. We have spoken about age-based exclusion, gender-based exclusion, and other non-binary gender-based exclusions, etc. So, but because algorithms and large language models work on pattern recognition models, right? So basically they are working on data which is the commonly occurring opinion, and then that human bias can very much reflect in LLMs, which is also happening, and this is one of the major concerns in the AI community. Which is called algorithmic discrimination. So hiring systems can penalize, for example, candidates with disability due to speech or gaps in employment, health platforms that misclassify disabled patients, chatbot that provide incomplete or misleading information to screen readers. All of these are possible. Compliance will need to expand from technical code checks to ethical auditing of algorithmic systems. Right. So now let us talk about emerging compliance models for an AI driven world. Right. So as AI becomes central to digital experiences, accessibility compliance cannot remain tied to static checklists or one-time audits. Several models are already taking shape, pointing to where compliance is heading next. So let us talk about those aspects. So one is continuous and real-time accessibility monitoring. So static audits are no longer sufficient. So as AI systems generate new outputs every second, it's dynamic. Compliance also needs to be dynamic in nature. Compliance will have to shift from a one-time audit to a real-time auditing mechanisms, and which is continuous monitoring frameworks. So for example, real-time caption validation, measuring word error rate, WER, in automated captions dynamically and flagging when thresholds are breached, voice command testing pipelines, so stress testing AI agents with diverse speech samples, including dysarthric and accented voices, adaptive UI monitoring, tracking how interfaces reflow and adapt when personalized by AI. So businesses may need to implement automated monitoring agents that tests AI outputs continuously, much like cybersecurity intrusion detection systems. The other emerging aspect is AI specific accessibility standards. The accessibility community is already debating what comes after WCAG 2.2, which is the current guidebook. The W3C accessibility guidelines, the WCAG 3.0 draft, acknowledges the need for outcome based flexible testing, but we may see entirely new standards that cover accuracy benchmarks for AI captions and transcripts, data set documentation, disclosure of what user groups were included, excluded, bias auditing protocols to measure fairness for disabled cohorts. So bias auditing protocols means that one is that the owners have to audit themselves and document what kind of users are getting included and excluded, and then probably doing accessibility auditing is one thing, but also adding bias auditing. Bias auditing protocols is based on the algorithmic discrimination that we spoke about earlier, and that whether those AI systems, AI algorithms are objectively doing decision making or not. That is something which needs to be taken care of. Explainability requirements for automated decision systems is also required. In short, the compliance will expand from content to the algorithm itself. So it will get intertwined with not just the front end, not just the experience part of it, but more deeper computer science aspects of development and design itself. Then we spoke about one of the issues, that who shares the responsibility of a compliance failure, right? So then that the acts, the laws which are formed to regulate and enforce the guidelines have to keep the responsibility shared between vendors and deployers. So in an AI driven ecosystem, accessibility responsibilities have to be distributed. Vendors that are AI model developers must disclose training data, limitations and accessibility performances. Businesses deploying AI must validate those outputs in real context and provide some fallback mechanisms. Of course, they may not be able to judge all of the use cases, but the testing methods can include a diverse set of audiences who may ask a query to your AI system. Regulators will need to clarify liability and who is accountable when an AI powered exclusion happens. So this part also becomes a little bit tricky with open source models. But we'll see how it evolves. I don't really have a right answer to it right now, and maybe that is something open to discussion in the discussion session. So this shift echoes GDPR's shared accountability in privacy law. So similarly, we have shared accountability in security and privacy. The same needs to be extended to accessibility as well. So with compliance, of course, will increase the number of accessibility audits, and the traditional audit checks code and documents. In the future, audits may include dataset inclusivity reviews to check if disabled users were represented at all. So user demographic may need to be disclosed by companies, bias testing to check how AI outputs differ for disabled versus non-disabled users, transparency assessments that check if model limitations are disclosed, fallback evaluation to ensure that the system provides accessible alternatives when AI fails. Accessibility audits will evolve into multidisciplinary assessments, blending technical testing, data ethics, and user research. Risks of ignoring accessibility in AI. We cannot risk ignoring accessibility in the use of AI. The first and the foremost risk being the legal exposure, as AI becomes more central to most businesses' operations. Excluding disabled users could trigger lawsuits under existing disability laws. So, organizations need to be very careful about including AI models, particularly in decision making aspects of your organization. In the US, there is already Department of Justice's rule for public websites explicitly covering dynamic and AI driven content. You can visit this link. In Europe, the EAA will demand accessible design for AI powered services from June of this year. In India, IS 17802, which is developed by the BIS, already sets national accessibility standards that extends to all digital platforms, and this standard already speaks about dynamic content. So it is already under the legal exposure. However, the guidelines are not in place as much. So then, as designers and as developers, we have to tread carefully, because the laws cover it, but the guidelines currently do not. So we have to be really careful about it. Then, of course, there can be other risks such as reputational risks. The viral story of AI mocking or failing a disabled users can spark backlash. Accessibility failures in AI aren't invisible, they make headlines. And then because AI is the most talked about aspect of technology in today's day and age, it can risk reputation of your organization. Market loss, definitely we've been talking about that, the fact that disability community represents over 1.3 billion people worldwide, and they have a huge spending power. Failing to make AI inclusive, it's not just a legal risk but a missed market opportunity, and we have to address this gap with conscious efforts. And we've also spoken about several times of losing temporary and situational customers and users over incorrect usage of AI in your interactive systems. Internal workforce exclusion, so AI bias in HR tools or ERP systems can exclude talented disabled employees. While we were on the one side in the previous session when we were talking about the potential of AI, we were talking about how AI technologies can now enable people with disability to attend meetings with equity, to have a seat at the table and companies can confidently hire them because tools are in place to facilitate easy communication between a person who is has a sensory hindrance with a person who may not have a sensory hindrance. However, if and when AI is integrated in hiring mechanisms, shortlisting algorithms and all of those, it may end up kind of excluding those people with the bias. And accessibility compliant in AI isn't just defensive, it's a way to build better products, broader markets and stronger trust. So these are some points which can be considered if you are a new business owner which is working in the domain of AI based tech, or innovators which are looking to work in the domain of accessible AI or AI for accessibility. Of course, keep in mind a few of these things. Step 1 is audit the current AI systems. Make sure that all your AI powered tools which are in use are audited. Assess your accessibility gaps, both technical and ethical. Step 2 is build accessibility into procurement. So make sure that the vendors, the MOUs that you sign, the agreements that you sign cover clauses which mention accessibility in order to ensure shared accountability that we spoke about earlier. It has to be tailored into the agreement with legal statements in place. Step 3 is implementing continuous monitoring. Deploying automated testing tools and monitor captions and everything needs to be established. So as we spoke earlier, auditing accessibility audit will surely shift from a one-time audit to a continuous auditing system, a continuous monitoring system. So make sure that you are also deploying such systems in your product, so that even if there is a third party monitoring system installed, your product is able to pass accessibility compliance. Train your teams on AI accessibility risks. Tell your development teams, tell your design teams about these risks. Communicate with them, discuss with them about possible ways to curb those risks, what are the most optimized solutions to move forward, discuss and move forward with your teams. Engage disabled users in testing. Involving people with diverse disabilities in design as well as evaluation will surely help you in your journey, and pay participants fairly and integrate their feedback in your iterative design. Brace yourself for regulatory shifts. They may come sooner than you know it. Track developments in WCAG 3.0 and other national AI acts if they might add some more addendums, because it will happen soon that the accessibility compliance may include algorithmic auditing as well. So what is the role of policy and advocacy in this scenario? Governments and advocacy groups are pushing for stronger oversight of AI systems. Likely developments may include AI accessibility certifications similar to VPATs today, but so VPAT is again your privacy related certification, but extended to AI bias and dataset inclusivity. Global harmonization, so alignment between WCAG, EAA and other AI based regulations have to, kind of all of these organizations have to come together and form interdisciplinary guidelines actually. Public-private partnerships can help in maintaining and ensuring accessibility across platforms, investments in inclusive data sets representing disabled users as well. Forward-looking businesses should engage in policy discussions, not wait for enforcement, as the future of accessibility compliance will be shaped by AI. This is really very important to consider. And other aspects include that traditional frameworks at WCAG remain foundational, but they are not enough to cover the risks of algorithmic exclusion. Compliance in the AI world will be driven by continuous evaluations. They have to be algorithm aware, not just content focused. Shared responsibility spread across vendors, deployers and regulators. So these are the three primary aspects of up and coming WCAG guidelines. Businesses that would adapt early will not only avoid legal risk but also unlock innovation and reach new markets, be the first movers to ensure inclusivity and maybe avoid the risk of shutting down altogether. To summarize today's session, the future of AI is definitely promising, particularly in accessibility, with the possibility of integrating different assistive technologies to create seamless, more effective solutions for all kind of users. In an AI-driven world, however, accessibility compliance is not optional, and it is the foundation of trust, equity and sustainable growth. Thank you for joining us in this session. I hope it had a clear takeaway, this session, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you for joining.